At my brother's engagement party, just as he was about to put the ring on his fiancée's finger, she locked eyes with me and whispered something that made my run cold. She revealed a secret past between us that could destroy not only his happiness but our entire family forever. I cheated on my wife Sarah with my brother's fiancée Emma 6 months before their engagement party. There, I said it. The words that have been clawing at my throat for half a year. It started innocently enough, or at least that's what I told. Sarah and I had been married for 4 years, together for 8. We had our daughter Lily when she was 3. The spark wasn't gone exactly, but it had dimmed to barely visible embers. Work stress, parenting exhaustion, the usual excuses every cheating husband makes. Emma was different. She laughed at my jokes. She actually listened when I talked about my day. When Jake brought her around for family dinners, she'd sit next to me and lean in close when I spoke. Sarah would be busy chasing Lily around or cleaning, and Emma would touch my arm and say things like, "You're so funny, Mark," or, "Sarah's lucky to have Poi." The night it happened was supposed to be a celebration. Jake had just gotten a promotion, and we all went out for drinks. Sarah stayed home with Lily cause she had a headache. Classic setup, right? I should have seen the red flags waving like surrender flags in a hurricane. Emma kept buying me drinks. She said Jake was working late again, that she felt lonely, that she wished she had someone who really understood her like I seemed to. That made everything fuzzy around the edges, made her hand on my thigh seem reasonable instead of catastrophic. We ended at a hotel. I won't go into details because honestly, they don't matter. What matters is that I looked at this beautiful woman who was supposed to marry my brother, who was supposed to become part of our family, and I decided my temporary gratification was worth more than everything I'd built. That was forgettable, mechanical. She seemed distracted, checking her phone twice. I felt sick before we even finished, but I convinced it was just guilt. Just nerves. Just anything other than the truth that I just nuked my entire for 20 minutes with someone who didn't even seem that into it. We agreed it was a mistake. A one-time thing. She said she loved Jake, that she was just scared about the engagement. I said I loved Sarah, that I was just going through a rough patch. We lied to each other's faces and then went home to lie to the people who trusted us most. But Emma kept texting me. Little things at first. "Thanks for listening last night." Then it escalated. Photos of herself. Suggestions about when Jake would be out of town. I should have blocked her number. I should have confessed to Sarah immediately. Instead, I deleted the messages and pretended they never happened. Sarah noticed I was different. More attentive actually. Guilt does that too. Makes overcompensate. I brought her flowers, did extra housework, played with Lily more. Sarah thought I was being romantic. She had no idea I was trying to scrub the stain off my soul. The weeks passed. Jake seemed happy, talking about wedding plans, showing me ring options. Emma would smile at me across the dinner table while he talked about their future, and I'd feel like I was going to throw right into mom's meatloaf. 3 months later, Jake proposed. Emma said yes. I watched my brother's face light with pure joy, and I knew I was the only person in that room who knew was built on quicksand. The engagement party was supposed to be a small family affair. Sarah spent weeks planning it, making Emma's favorite desserts, decorating with the colors Emma had chosen for the wedding. She was so to officially welcome Emma into the family. My wife was planning a party to celebrate the woman I'd betrayed her with. The night of the party, I could barely eat. Sarah kept asking if I was feeling okay. Lily was running around in her pretty dress, so happy to have Aunt Emma becoming official family. Every smile from my daughter felt like a twist. Jake had planned this elaborate ring ceremony for the party. Not the proposal, but a promise ring to wear until the wedding. Something about wanting to make it official in front of the family. Emma knew about it because Sarah had helped him plan the surprise. When the moment came, everyone gathered in a circle. Jake got down on one knee again, but this time in front of all of us. He was shaking, he was so nervous and excited. Mom was crying. Dad had his arm around Sarah. Lily was clapping her little hands. Jake started his speech about how Emma had changed how she was his soulmate, how he couldn't wait to build a future with her. Emma was looking at him with what looked like genuine love in her eyes. For a moment, I almost believed we could all pretend that night had never happened. Then Jake pulled out the ring box. Emma's eyes found mine across the circle, and that's when she smiled, not at Jake, at me. As Jake opened the box and started to slide the ring onto her finger, Emma leaned down and whispered something in his ear, but her eyes never left mine. And even though I couldn't hear the words, I could read her lips. "I'm pregnant." My turn to ice water. Sarah was filming the whole thing on her phone, capturing what she thought was a beautiful family moment. Lily was still clapping. Jake was beaming as he slipped the ring on Emma's finger, and Emma was looking directly at me when she mouthed the next words. "It's yours." The world tilted sideways. The room was full of congratulations and cheers, but all I could hear was the sound of my pulse hammering in my ears. Emma stood and Jake deeply, and over his shoulder she winked at me. Sarah grabbed my hand and squeezed it, whispering, "Isn't this wonderful? We're gonna have a baby in the family." She thought Emma had just told Jake about being pregnant. She thought we were all celebrating together. I excused to the bathroom and until my throat burned. When I came back, Emma was holding court, glowing as everyone congratulated her engagement and the pregnancy announcement. "How far along are?" Mom asked. "About 2 months," Emma said, looking right at me again. It was a surprise but a wonderful one. 2 months. Right when we had slept together. Jake was over the moon. Jacqueline going to be a dad and a husband. He kept saying, hugging Emma like she was made of glass. Sarah was already talking about baby showers and cribs. Lily's gonna be such a good big cousin, she said, kissing our daughter's head. I wanted to disappear. To evaporate into nothing and never have existed at all. But Emma wasn't done. As the party wound down, she cornered me in the kitchen while everyone else was saying goodbye. Surprise, she whispered, pressing close to me while pretending to help clear dishes. Emma, we need to talk, I said, my voice barely working. No, we really don't, she said, still smiling that terrible smile. Because gonna mouth shut, and I'm going to marry brother, and we're all gonna be one big happy family. If it's mine. Oh, it's definitely yours. Jake and I haven't had in over a month. He's been too stressed about the promotion. She loaded plates in the dishwasher like we were discussing the weather. But he doesn't need to know that, does he? Emma, this is insane. Can't what? Marry the man I love and raise a family. That's exactly what I'm going to do. She turned to face me fully. And you're going to help me. Because if don't, I'll tell everyone what really happened. Wife, daughter, parents, everyone at job. I'll make sure the whole world knows what kind of maid really are. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold onto the dish towel. What do you want from me? Nothing. Just silence. Just play the happy brother-in-law. Be a good uncle to own child. And maybe, if we're very good, I won't destroy completely. Jake appeared in the doorway. There too are. Emma, honey, we should head home. Early day tomorrow for the doctor's appointment. Emma lit like a Christmas tree. Of course, baby. I'm so excited to see our little one on the ultrasound. Our little one. She said it while looking at Jake but meaning me. They left with hugs and kisses and promises to call tomorrow with news from the appointment. Sarah cleaned while chattering about how excited she was to be an aunt. Lily fell asleep on the couch exhausted from all the excitement. I sat in my car in the garage for 2 hours after everyone was asleep, staring at my phone. I typed out confessions to Sarah a dozen times and deleted them all. I looked lawyers. I looked DNA testing. I looked what states allowed to contest paternity after a child is born. But mostly I just sat there, knowing that as I knew it was over. And it was entirely my own fault. The worst part wasn't even that I'd cheated. It was that I'd cheated with someone who was smart enough to plan ahead, ruthless enough to trap me, and patient enough to wait 6 months to drop the I'd thought I was having an affair. Turned out I was just a derner who was enough to think he was the one in control. 3 weeks after the engagement party, Emma texted me a photo of the ultrasound. Just the image, no words. A tiny blob on a black background that might as well have been a nuclear for how it destroyed my peace of mind. Sarah squealed when I showed it to her, thinking Emma had sent it to both of us. Look how perfect our little niece or nephew is, she said, kissing my cheek. Jake must be so proud. I couldn't eat for 3 days. Emma's doctor appointments became family affairs. Sarah would bring Lily, Mom would make special meals for the pregnant woman, and Jake would give us play-by-play updates about every development. The baby's heartbeat is so strong, he'd say. Emma's glowing. I can't believe how lucky I am. The first time I heard the heartbeat, I had to leave the room. Sarah thought it was because I was emotional about becoming an uncle. She hugged me in the hallway and said, "We're going to be such a good role model for this baby." Role model. For my own child. Who would grow calling my brother daddy and me uncle? Emma played the pregnancy card perfectly. She needed help with groceries when Jake was working late. She needed someone to drive her to appointments when Jake couldn't make it. She needed emotional support because pregnancy hormones were making her weepy. Guess who became the designated family helper? Marksman, she'd tell Sarah during family dinners. I don't know what I'd do without him. He's like the brother I never had. Sarah would beam with pride. He's always been a caretaker. Lily adores him, and this baby will too. The baby, that's all anyone could talk about. Sarah started buying tiny clothes and toys. Mom started knitting blankets. Dad started talking about setting a college fund. Everyone was so invested in this child who might be mine, and I couldn't say a word. The genetics were a nightmare to think about. Jake and I looked similar enough that the baby probably wouldn't raise immediate suspicions. But what if it had my eyes, my dimple? What if it came out looking exactly like Lilligan as a newborn? I started having panic. Real ones where I couldn't breathe and the world would spin. Sarah insisted I see a doctor. The doctor prescribed anxiety medication and asked about stress at work. I lied and said yes, work was stressful. Everything was a lie now. Emma would text me photos of her growing belly. Never anything overtly. Just casual updates that any family member might send. But the message was clear: this is happening whether like it or not. When she was 5 months along, Emma asked me to help her paint the nursery. Jake was out of town for work, and Sarah was at her book club. I should have said no. I should have made any excuse. But Emma had made it clear that refusing her reasonable requests would result in my being destroyed, so I went. The nursery was in what used to be Jake's home office. They'd picked a neutral yellow since they wanted to be surprised by the gender. Emma had me moving furniture while she painted the trim around the windows. "Have thought about names?" she asked casually. I didn't answer. I was thinking if it's a boy, maybe Marcus. No, after his uncle. She looked at me over her shoulder. "What do you think, Uncle Mark?" "Don't." My voice came out. "Don't what?" Don't name him after family. That's traditional, isn't it? She went back to painting. Or maybe Michael. That was my father's name. Though I suppose it doesn't matter much what we call him. Jake will be his daddy no matter what. I dropped the screwdriver I was holding. It clattered on the hardwood floor like a gunshot. Emma turned around fully this time. Her belly was umdered and obvious under her paint-stained shirt. Okay, Mark looked pale. Why are doing this? I asked. Why not just tell Jake the truth and leave me out of it? She laughed. Actually laughed. Because I love Jake. I want to marry Jake. I want to build it with Jake. This baby is just a complication that we need to manage. It's not a complication. It's a human being. That's Jake's human being as far as anyone knows. And it's gonna stay that way. She set down her paintbrush and wove over to me. Unless prefer to both our lives. Tell our spouses what really happened. Watch Jake's heart break. Watch Sarah pack Lily and leave. Watch parents choose sides in the ugliest family drama they've ever seen. The worst part was that she was right. Even if I confessed everything, even if we got DNA tests, even if the truth came out, everyone's would be destroyed. Sarah would never trust me again. Jake would lose the woman he loved and the child he thought was his. My parents would be devastated. Lily would grow with divorced parents and a father who was the family pariah. I see her starting to understand. Emma said, everyone stays happy. Jake gets to be a father. Sarah gets to be an aunt. Parents get a grandchild. Lily gets a cousin. And get to live with the consequences of choices without destroying everyone else's in the process. She was 6 months pregnant when Sarah suggested we all go on a family vacation together. One last trip before the baby comes, she said. Emma needs to relax and it would be so fun to have everyone together. We rented a lake house for a week. Jake and Emma took the master bedroom. Sarah, Lily and I took the room next door. The walls were thin. I could hear Jake talking to Emma's belly every night. Reading stories to the baby, singing lullabies, telling the child how much daddy loved them already. Emma would giggle and make encouraging sounds, playing the perfect expectant mother. One night, I heard Jake crying with happiness. I can't believe this is real, he whispered. I never thought I'd get to be a dad. This baby is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I went outside and sat by the lake until sunrise, trying to figure out how to live with. During the day we'd all together like a normal family. Jake would rub sunscreen on Emma's belly, and talk about how excited he was for the baby to be born. Sarah would take pictures of all of us together, building the family photo albums that would someday show this child surrounded by people who loved them, including their biological father who had to pretend to be their uncle. Emma seemed to enjoy it. She'd catch my eye while Jake was being sweet to her and smile like we were sharing a private joke. When Jake would go get her a drink or rub her feet, she'd look at me like she was saying, "See how easy this is." The baby started during that trip. Jake put his hand on Emma's stomach and his whole face when he felt it.
Oh my God, Emma!
Did feel that? The baby kicked. Emma grabbed my hand before I could pull away and pressed it to her belly. Uncle Mark should feel it too, she said. The baby likes him. I felt my child kick against my palm and Jake clapped me on the back. Pretty amazing, right? I can't wait for Sarah to have another one so our kids can grow together. Sarah smiled and squeezed my other hand. That would be wonderful, she said. Lily would love a little brother or sister. I excused and in the lake house bathroom. When I came back, Emma was holding Lily on her lap, letting my daughter feel the baby kick. This is little cousin, Emma told her. They're gonna love a Plymouth bye. Lily pressed her ear to Emma's belly. I can hear the baby, she announced. It's saying hi to me. What do you think it's saying? Emma asked. It's saying it loves our family, Lily said, and it can't wait to meet everyone. That night I called a lawyer from a payphone in town. I didn't give my name, just asked hypothetical questions about paternity and child support and custody. The lawyer explained that even if DNA proved I was the father, if Jake was married to Emma when the baby was born, he would be the legal father unless he chose to contest it. If Emma didn't want to pursue it, there was essentially nothing I could do to claim parental rights. I was legally going to be an uncle to my own child, and there was no way around it. The baby shower was held at our house. Sarah organized the whole thing, inviting all the women in the family and Emma's friends. I was banished to Jakey's house to keep him company while the women celebrated. Jake was nervous about becoming a father. What if I'm terrible at it? He asked. What if I don't know how to change diapers or deal with crying or teach them to ride a bike? I'll figure it out, I said, hating for the irony. Kids are resilient, they just need love. Emma thinks I'm going to be a natural, but I'm not so sure. Make it look so easy with Lily. He cracked open another, maybe can give me some pointers when the baby comes. I was going to have to teach my brother how to raise my child. When we got back to our house, the living room was full of tiny clothes and blankets and toys. Emma was opening gifts while everyone cooed over baby items. She'd gotten everything she needed and more. Look what Aunt Sarah got us, Emma said, holding a onesie that said, I love my family. Sarah was glowing with pride. I thought it was so sweet. This baby is going to be so loved. Emma looked right at me when she said, yes they are, by everyone in the family. 2 weeks later everyone into labor. Jake called us at 3 a.m., panicked and excited. It's happening, we're going to the hospital. Sarah grabbed Lily and we rushed to meet them. The labor took 12 hours. I spent the entire time in the waiting room, trying not to think fact that my child was being born and I couldn't even be in the room. Jake came out periodically to give us updates. She's doing great. The baby's heartbeat is strong. The doctor says it won't be much longer. When the baby was finally born, Jake came out crying. It's a boy, he said. He's perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes, healthy lungs. Emma's exhausted but she's okay. A son. I had a son. What's his name? Mom asked. Marcus, Jake said, looking at me. We're calling him Marcus, after the best brother and uncle a kid could have. They named my son after me and gave him to my brother to raise. I held it together until I got to the parking garage, and then I screamed until my throat was raw. Marty looks exactly like I did as a toddler. Same dark eyes, same stubborn cowlick, same dimple when he smiles. Sarah keeps commenting on how much he resembles our side of the family. Genetics are so funny, she says. He could be Lily's brother instead of her cousin. If she only knew. Jake is a devoted father. He gets for night feedings, changes diapers without complaining, reads bedtime stories in silly voices. He posts photos of Marcus constantly, captions full of love and pride. My little man, he writes. Best thing I ever did was become this kid's dad. Emma plays her role perfectly. Loving wife, devoted mother, grateful for how helpful the family has been. She sends me photos of Marcus hitting milestones. First day of daycare. Always with captions like, Uncle Mark would be so proud. Or, can't wait for Uncle Mark to see this. The photos feel like psychological. But I can't stop looking at them. Marcus calls me Uncle Mark. When we have family dinners he runs to me with his arms, wanting to be picked. Uncle. He says, and I swing him around while Jake beams with pride at how much his son loves his uncle. Are so good with him. Jake always says. He really looks to Clun. My son looks to me and doesn't know I'm his father. Sarah wants another baby. She's been bringing it more often lately, pointing out how good I am with Marcus, how much Lily loves having a little cousin around. Don't think it's time, she asked last week. Lily's 8 now. She's old enough to be a big sister. I can't do it. I can't bring another child into this nightmare I've created. But I can't tell Sarah why without destroying anything, so I keep making excuses about finances and timing. The lies are eating me alive. I've lost 30 pounds. I barely sleep. Sarah thinks I'm having a midlife crisis and suggests therapy. The therapist asks about sources of stress in my, and I lie to her too. Work stress, I say. Getting older, fear of mortality, the usual suspects. But the real source of stress is sitting at our dinner table every Sunday, calling my brother daddy and me uncle, while the woman who orchestrated this whole nightmare cuts his face and plays the perfect mother. Emma and Jake got married when Marcus was 6 months old. Small ceremony, family only. Marcus was the ring bearer, carried down the aisle by Jake's best man while everyone cooed about how adorable he was in his tiny tuxedo. I was Jake's best man. I had to stand next to my brother while he married the mother of my child, and promised to love and care for the family they'd built together. During the ceremony, Marcus started fussing, and Emma handed him to me to calm him down. I bounced my son on my hip while his mother married his uncle, and everyone thought it was a sweet family moment. The wedding photographer got dozens of shots of me holding Marcus. Sarah has them framed all over our house. Looks so natural with him, she always says. Like meant to be his father figure. I am his father, just not in any way that matters. Last month Marcus started talking in sentences. Real conversations, not just toddler babbling. He told me he loves trucks and dinosaurs and ice cream. He told me not his day at daycare. About the book Jake read him the night before. About how mommy makes the best pancakes. He's smart. So smart it breaks my heart. He asks questions about everything. Soaks information like a sponge. Remembers details that surprise all the adults around him. Jake jokes that he's going to be a scientist or an engineer. Kid's got analytical mind. He tells me. Must run in the family. It does run in the family. It runs from me to him. But Jake will never know that. The worst part isn't the secrecy or the lies or even the guilt. It's the moments when I forget. When Marcus is laughing at something I said. Or when he falls asleep in my arms during a family movie night. Or when he brings me a book and says, "Read story, Uncle Mark," with such trust and love in his voice. In those moments I almost feel like a father. Like this could be normal. Like maybe Emma was right and this is better for everyone. Then reality crashes back down, and I remember that I'm living a lie that gets deeper every day. Sarah noticed I've been distant lately. She cornered me last week after a family barbecue where I'd barely said 2 words to anyone. "Mark, what's wrong with? Used to love these family gatherings. Now act like they're per." She's not wrong. Being around Marcus is. Seeing him with Jake is. Listening to Emma make small talk about training in preschools is. Watching my parents dote on their grandson who dote his grandparents is. I'm just tired, I told Sarah. Work's been crazy. It's not work, she said. I've been different for 2 years. Ever since Marcus was born actually. Are jealous? Is that what this is about? Jealous? If she only knew. I'm not jealous, I said. I'm happy for Jake and Emma. They deserve to be happy. But I am jealous. Jealous that Jake gets to be Marcus's father. Jealous that Emma gets to make all the decisions about his. Jealous that they get to be the ones he runs to when he's scared or excited. Jealous that their names will be on his birth certificate, his school records, his college applications. I'm jealous that they get to raise my son while I watch from the sidelines. Emma announced last week that she's pregnant again. The family celebration was just as enthusiastic as the first time. Jake cried happy tears. Sarah immediately started planning another baby shower. Marcus, bait understanding but excited by the adult's excitement, kept saying, baby, babby, and patting Emma's still flat stomach. This time I know it's Jake's. They've been trying for a year, Emma told everyone. They wanted Marcus to have a sibling close in age, 2 kids, Jake said, shaking his head in amazement. I'm gonna have 2 kids, can believe it. I wanted to tell him he already has 2 kids, just not the way he thinks. Marcus will have a half-sibling who will also be his cousin. The family tree we're creating is a nightmare of deception and lies, and every day it gets more complicated. Last weekend, Sarah suggested we start trying for another baby too. Think about it, she said. Marcus and his new sibling, plus our new baby, 3 little cousins growing together. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I locked in the garage and screamed into a pile of old towels until my voice gave out. I've thought about confessing everything. 1,000 times I've started to tell Sarah the truth. I've written letters I never sent, practiced speeches I never gave, imagined how the conversation would go. But then I think about Marcus. He's 2 years old. He knows Jake as daddy, Emma as mommy, me as mama, and family exactly as it is. If the truth came out now, his entire world would. He'd lose the only father he's ever known. He'd find out his mother lied about his paternity. He'd discover that his beloved uncle is actually his father, and that his father kept it secret as whole. How to explain that to a child? How to tell him that the adults he trusted most built his entire identity on a lie? And Sarah. God, Sarah. She'd be devastated. Not just about the cheating, but about the fact that she's been loving and caring for the child of her husband's affair for 2 years. She's been the perfect aunt to the living proof of my betrayal. Lily would lose her cousin, who she adores. She'd lose her stable family when Sarah inevitably left me. She'd have to deal with the scandal and the gossip and the whispers at school about her father the cheater. My parents would be heartbroken. They'd lose their daughter-in-law and their grandson when Jake and Emma's marriage fell apart. They'd have to choose between their 2 sons, knowing one of them destroyed the others. Jake would lose everything: the woman he loves, the child he's raised, his trust in family, his ability to believe in love and commitment. He'd spend the rest of his questioning every moment of his marriage, every milestone with Marcus, every time he felt like a proud father. So I stay quiet. I take my anxiety medication and go to therapy and lie to everyone about why I'm falling apart. I play the role of devoted uncle and supportive brother and faithful husband. I smile at family gatherings and ooh and ah over Marcus's latest achievements and pretend my heart isn't breaking every time he calls someone else daddy. The irony is that Emma was right about one thing: this is better for everyone else. Jake is happy. Sarah is happy. Marcus is happy. My only person suffering is me, and I deserve it. I made this choice when I decided my momentary satisfaction was worth more than my family's trust. I made it again when I didn't confess immediately. I keep making it every day I let this lie continue. Emma has complete power over me, and we both know it. She can destroy me with a simple DNA test and a few phone calls. She holds all the cards, and I hold nothing but guilt and secrets and the growing certainty that this will never end. Sometimes I think about what would happen if I just disappeared. Left town, started over somewhere else. Let Sarah and Lily build it without the man who's been lying to them for years. But that would be abandoning my son completely, and as twisted as this situation is, at least now I get to see him grow. At least I get to be Uncle Mark, who teaches him to throw a baseball and helps with his homework and takes him to movies. It's not enough. It will never be enough. But it's all I'm going to get. Marcus will grow thinking Jake is his father. He'll probably look more like me as he gets older, but everyone would just comment on the strong family resemblance. He'll graduate from high school and college with Jake cheering from the audience. He'll get married someday and ask Jake to be his best man. He'll have kids of his own who will call Jake Grandpa and me Great Uncle Mark. I'll watch my sons entire from the sidelines, and the only person who will know the truth is the woman who made sure it stayed buried. Emma wins. She got everything she wanted: a loving husband, a beautiful child, a supportive family, and complete control over the man whose moment of weakness gave her the she wanted to build. And me. I get to live with the knowledge that every single person I love is living a lie, and I'm the one who created it. Marcus started calling me his favorite uncle last month. He runs to me at family gatherings, shows me his toys, wants me to push him on the swing set Jake built in their backyard. He trusts me completely, loves me unconditionally, and has no idea that's the worst kind of coward. Last week, he drew me a picture. A stick figure family with him in the middle, Jake and Emma on one side, and me on the other. At the bottom, in his careful toddler handwriting, he wrote Luc Liderne. I have it on my office wall now, right next to Lily's drawings and Sarah's photos. A reminder of what I destroyed and what I can never have. The truth is, I'm not the victim in this story. Emma isn't the villain. Sarah isn't Knave, Jacob, and Marcus isn't a pawn. I'm just a man who thought he could cheat on his wife without consequences, and instead created consequences that will last for the rest of my and the lives of everyone I love. Every time I look at my son and see my own face looking back at me, I remember the most important lesson I'll ever learn: some choices don't just change, they change everyone's, forever. And don't get to take them back just because finally understand how much they cost.